I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm excited, not gonna lie.
Yeah, man. I love your hat.
Oh, thank you very much. I
I'm also loving the New England teams behind you. We can talk about that a little later.
ooh, really? That's a first out of people I've had on my show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you about not only just your journey, but also I was in New York a year ago and I wanted to see Ain't Too Proud really, really bad. They had a student discount for at the Imperial for college kids, and I was like, oh,
Right.
I wanted to use it, but my I have younger sisters, and they're like, don't leave us because they're not in college. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes though. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Go ahead and say your name. What project? I guess currently in. I mean, because
Sure.
it's all relative because
Right.
COVID. But what you're in right now, and just a little bit about yourself, like maybe where you studied, where you're from, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, the spiel, if you will. Well, my name is Christian Thompson. I am currently holding in Ain't Too Proud: The Life and Times of the Temptations, where I play Smokey Robinson and Damon Harris. So that's what I do and who I am. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I currently am. Uh, and I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. I decided I want to be an actor when I was 8. Um, Went all the way through to college where I got my BFA in musical theater at Penn State. So we are Penn State proud. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I also started hip hop dancing when I was about 8 or 9. So I'm also a professional hip hop dancer. I have a cat. This is my cat, Smokey. You can guess where his name is from. Um, so he decided he wanted to be a part of this. So there we go. Um, Other than that, hip hop dancer, emerging writer. We'll get into that, but that's kind of been my new thing in COVID times. Choreographer, singer, dancer, musical theater, all that fun stuff. That's about it. I don't know, that's really it. A lot of what I do what I love. So, I just do it a lot. Right. Um, yeah. So everybody's like, well, what hobbies do you have? And I'm like, well, I mean, what I do is kind of also my hobby. So, but recently, especially with COVID, I've been doing a lot of dance videos kind of on my Instagram. That's kind of been the big kind of project between that and writing. Have been my two kind of big creative outlets right now. Um, that's about it. I don't know. That's me.
When you so first of all, answer this. Were you in the original cast of Ain't Too Proud, or did you join kind of after the run started?
No, so I've been with Ain't Too Proud since the world premiere in Berkeley Rep. So they had one workshop before I joined. I think it was a 6 week workshop or something like that. Um, Back, oh, I'm gonna get the year wrong. Probably 2017, maybe. I'm gonna say 2017. Um, Bye, Smokey. 2017 in like winter time, and then they moved to Berkeley that summer and fall for the world premiere. So it was just a few months after that I joined the team, and then I've been with them ever since. So we did the world premiere, then we did the pre-Broadway tour through DC, LA, and Toronto until we finally landed at the Imperial. Um, yeah, and had been rocking for a year before everything kind of shut down. So no, I've been with the show for quite some time now.
How'd the casting process go?
It was crazy for me because I was one of only a couple of people they were looking for because they had most of the cast already set in the workshop. So it was crazy. It was one day I was on the road with Rent. A little backstory: me and Dominique Mariso, Tony nominated book writer for Ain't Too Proud, Genius Award, Grant Award winner, kind of just the bomb. Dominique, if you don't know her, you should. Um, so, we got to work while I was in college on a show called Blood at the Root, which we got to travel the world with. So I got to do that, and we got very close. And because we got very close, um, I was able to talk to her when she was getting ready to put pipeline at the Lincoln Center. I really wanted to do that because I had seen some of the early work on that, and I was like, hey, so I was in LA with Rent, and I was like, hey, I'd love to be in that. And she was like, can you make it to New York to get to be in the room? And I was like, no, I can't do that. But like, I can send a tape or something. Like, me. She was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And I was like, oh, what? I thought what? But if you ever get to meet Dominique, she has a beautiful way with words, and she has a great way with explaining things to people. And what she explained to me was, the fact that everyone has a different journey, so don't worry. And what I now know as the methodology of, what is for you shall not pass you, that ideal, which I have found again, kind of recently. But that's basically what she was saying. She was saying, don't worry about it. Maybe this one ain't for you. Like a month later, she sent me an email. It was like, hey, can you be in New York on this day? And I happened to be in Buffalo, I think, the day before. So I took a bus overnight down for that Monday audition. And I was there for like 6-7 hours, dancing, singing, doing sides, dancing, kind of all day. And then flew out the next day to go to Chicago to open Rent in Chicago. It was a couple of weeks later that I found out that I booked it. So it was weird in the aspect, like I didn't have a bunch of callbacks, kind of the normal routine. It was kind of like one time, just kind of make or break all day, kind of marathon, which was really cool because it was a group of some of the most talented men I have ever seen. And super supportive. I mean, you ask anybody in the Ain't Too Proud cast, that's how all of casting went. I think Tara Rubin casting just did a brilliant job of finding the right people, but also fostering an environment within the audition room that was unlike anything I'd felt before. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a long day. I was exhausted. I'm pretty sure I called out in Chicago at some point because I was like, I'm tired from that audition I just did. That was my audition process.
You mentioned, you're kind of a hip hop dancer and how, heavy the dancing is in Ain't Too Proud. What kind of what does that do for your body? Like, I know obviously it's probably exhausting and you probably have to do a lot of stuff to make sure your body's like nice and strong for each show. I know it's been a while, so I mean, I'm sure you probably still remember, what stuff you do or you did during it, your 8 show week. What was some stuff that you did?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that kind of body trauma doesn't leave you. I will, 10 years from now, I'll remember how it felt to do Ain't Too Proud. Um, I am super honored to be a part of the process and to be a part of the choreography aspect of this show, and just really as a performer, you know what I mean? Uh, Sergio did an amazing job and completely deserved the Tony. Um, because he created something that felt both familiar and completely new. Um, it's really taxing. It's nice because there are a lot of hip hop elements. Not a lot of people know that, Sergio and his associate Edgar, danced with Michael Jackson, so they've got, training on top of training, but they also have such a breadth of knowledge, right? So it's a lot hipper than you would expect, especially in some of these musicals. It's not, it's not Hamilton. It's not going out there and showing, hip hop first, it really is this unique kind of niche market where it's got hip hop in it. It's got funk, it's got jazz, it's got just a little bit of everything peppered in there. And because of that, you kind of always have to keep on your toes because you have to be listening to the music so intently, right? It's so much about being in the pocket. And I think as a hip hop dancer, it only helped, right? Because a lot of what I do as a hip hop dancer is about being in the pocket, um, I grew up going to, dance circles and jams and stuff like that, where people would just improv, and I got to see the greats learn how to like stick in the pocket. So that's what we aim to do every day now is, well, every day then, is, stick in the pocket. And he would always talk about that, like be in the pocket, you're not in the pocket, feel it in your body. Which is so different sometimes from choreography we do, which, it's not about, you just find your center and then do the dance moves. And so that's been a lot of fun. As far as taxation on my body, I wish I could bring in the PT staff at the theater. I was in there once or twice a week working on something. I had an old injury after doing After Midnight on a cruise ship, that never really healed right, in my thigh. So like a lot, if 2 show days were a little tough sometimes, because I start feeling the soreness from that, or I started getting like weird back problems at one point. It's a lot, it's tricky because we're also in, kind of period ish dance kind of heels. So like, ladies, I feel for you. I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. We've got maybe a half inch, maybe an inch, like not that much. And I'm like, I can't. Can we not, these heels? So y'all are super people. I don't know how you do it. Anyone that dances in heels, ladies, men, whoever, whoever, y'all rock, because I can't do it. So it absolutely, it's a lot. And especially my character in the second act, Damon, I'm so glad I get to play him because he does a lot of the heaviest dance sequences. There's one of my favorite pictures, I think was used in the New York Times, if I'm not mistaken, and it's from Cloud Nine, and it's all the boys except for David in this like side bend, and it's my favorite moment in the show. But the picture is so funny because it's like everybody's on this like normal level, and then I'm like down here for some reason. It's just because I'm feeling my oats. I just love it. I love it so much. No, that choreo is incredible, and I will do it until I absolutely cannot.
Who exactly is your character? Because I know that the Ain't Too Proud is designed to, educate people about, obviously the life and times of the Temptations.
Yeah,
But
sure.
also there's a lot of characters that, people want to learn, that they learn about when they watch the show, aside from the five, original Temptations. So who is your character? And like you said, you play two characters. So like, how do they like maybe relate? How do you maybe go about preparing for both of these characters, each week, and how you make adjustments? And also what was like kind of the process of, figuring out who these characters were to you?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. The first one that I play, of course, everybody kind of knows. It's Smokey Robinson. Um, I believe Hall of Fame singer, if not will be. Grammy Award winner how many times over. Um, Literally like the architect of the Motown sound. Um, Everybody knows who he is. So that one is tricky because you don't want to do an imitation, right? Because people will call out a bad imitation quick, right? But there were certain things that I had to take on. So for instance, his vocal pattern, kind of, he doesn't talk down here like I do. He's got a very, his stuff kind of sits up here a little bit. So that was not me doing it, but it, what I mean. But it's been a while. But so that's where he sits. So the couple of lines I have as Smokey Robinson have to sit up there. But it's so great. The first, spoiler alert, I guess, not really. The first time you meet Smokey, Barry Gordy is introducing him to the Temps, and he swivels around in a chair, and literally before I say a word, people are losing their mind. Usually it gets applause. If you see the show after COVID, please applaud. There's nothing worse than swiveling around to silence. It's very strange. But it's just something we as a cast got used to, right? And I always say it's the least amount of work I'll ever have to do to get entrance applause. But people love Smokey Robinson and they love who he is, so much so that all I have to do is be honest, as honest as possible in that moment, and people are going to buy it, right? Because they want it to be Smokey. You know, it's so that's beautiful. There's something beautiful about being an icon on stage, and all you have to do is get out of the way, right? So that's Smokey. So preparing for him was very much like going through old interviews, going through, you know, his collection of songs, um, and just getting the essence. And for me, and this will make sense in a second, for me, he's very much slow energy, right? He's very suave. There's, you know, uh, there's a thing about it's just Smokey, you know. And on the flip side, in Act Two, I get to play Damon Harris. I love playing Damon Harris because two things. One, I think he was a brilliant artist and an interesting person that has an interesting story, because he was in a Temptations cover band when he got picked up to replace Eddie Kendricks. So he literally was singing because he loved Eddie Kendricks so much, and then got to replace him. Like, could you imagine, like, you know, pick your favorite role or whatever, the one thing that you're like, this is what I want to do, this is why I'm acting, and then someone turns to you and is like, hey, actually, we need you to do that thing, like with the originals, like right now. What? That's so like that idea, like, and then having to like live in that and like show up and record and be great. um that's super cool to me. So I try to bring some of that aspect of it. The other thing is, because people don't know Damon so much, I get to bring a little bit more of myself, right? Especially, actually, with anybody that's playing Otis, right? The first lines I have is directed towards Otis and Melvin. And it was when we started, it was Derek Baskin, who, I've told him this before, I used to sing with on the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee album when I was in like high school. You know, when I was learning, right? It was that thing of like, this is who I was singing with. I was trying to get his line as the comfort counselor and the I Love You song. Like, that was my go-to. Like, if I could sing that, it was a good song day, you know, it was a good vocal day. Um, so I was talking to him, like my first line is to him. So that energy, right? That frenetic, quick energy of just like, I'm with my idols, I'm with the people I looked up to, you know. And it's him and Jawan Jackson, who plays Melvin, and right now it's Nick Walker, who is another amazing performer, who's got an amazing resume. Again, just people that I'm like, I can't believe I'm sharing the stage with you, you know. Also knowing that, you know, when we started, it was Jeremy Pope, you know, two-time Tony nom, one-time Emmy nom, you know, from his debut, that just walked off stage. Like, I get to just take in really the reality of my situation and just be there, right? And that's brilliant. How many times do you get to do that where like your life is just what you're acting, right? So you just got to be. Um, that's what I love about Damon. So I get to fill a lot of it with me, you know, instead of trying to fill the shoes of an icon. This one gets to be wholly just kind of me, and the way I can honor Damon is by just killing it as hard as possible, because that's what he did when he joined the group, right? So that's why me and the assistant musical director on tour, Sean Kana, brilliant man, love him to death. We worked really hard on like the one solo line I have, vocal line, is in Superstar, and we worked so hard, uh, because at first I tried to do it like Damon, right? And that's just not really my wheelhouse, that really light falsetto, you know. And it's beautiful the way he does it. If you listen to the original, it's just stunning how he can just float up there. You can tell he was singing with Eddie, right? He got the records and was singing with Eddie, because it's that same beautiful quality. I ain't got that. That ain't for me. You know, I mean, I understudied Roger on the Rent tour. Like, I live closer to that. Um, so we workshopped it because I wanted to be as good as possible, so that people left going, And who was Damon Harris? Like, I need to know. That's my goal every time. So we found something that's a little more rock, it's a little more soul, it's a little more screamy, and I love it. I love it. I mean, it terrifies me every time I sing it, but I love it. And yeah, and that's why I dance my heart out, in those moments, because I'm really just trying to honor him, and honor all of the men that built the Temptations, so that we could be on a Broadway stage telling their story.
I think you hit it right on the head. You said a bad impersonation is just gets called out really quick.
Real quick. Yeah, it's just ugh.
And I think that maybe not professional actors have this problem, because I'm sure that they've learned that you don't try to imitate who you're playing. But I think a lot of high school actors and young actors, and obviously I'm sure there's professional actors that still have that problem, but I think that's just the biggest thing just to take away, is that really an impersonation, a bad one, can be pointed out really quickly.
Right. And I think the other thing about kind of that, impersonation versus, trying to live truthfully as that person, I mean, we've seen biopics that have gone terribly wrong, right? We've seen movies where like, this is just a bad impersonation, right? I don't think it's entertaining, but more so, it's not to the core of what acting is, right? What I'm rereading one of my books on acting, and it talks about, we go to the theater, and I think to an extension we go to theaters, whether it be movie theaters or live theater, to be told the truth, right? It's one of the only places where we can communicate honestly, and not be rude about it, but because of that, the inauthenticity of an impersonation, like, we know you're not them. I'm never gonna be Smokey Robinson. That can't happen. It'd be weird, and this isn't being John Malkovich. Like, you can't do that, right? So why try? What you can do is give yourself, given circumstances, i.e., your voice is higher. Like, that's your given circumstance. You're one of the best songwriters of all time. That's your given circumstance, and you do all those things, and you do your work like any other character. What's going to come out on the other side is usually really close to that person, but also 100 times more entertaining than just trying to imitate that person. And that's something that I learned both doing Ain't Too Proud, but also watching people like Derek Baskin, like Ephraim Sykes, like Jeremy Pope, who are just brilliant about it, because they know who they are, right? And they know at the end of the day, they're enough. And that's massive. And that's something I am forever learning. I think I will be old and gray and still be learning that. But it's tough in this industry to sit in that ideal of you're enough, because how many times are we told that we're not, you're not tall enough, you're not this enough, you're not, but in reality, you're enough. And again, it goes back to what's for you shall not pass you, yeah, it's just, I can't wait to get back and like put all these things that I've been thinking about like to practice, you know what I mean? Because it's really been able to like marinate. I've been able to marinate on some positive thinking. And yeah, so it's just, I don't know. That's what I think about the whole thing.
And the best thing is that, we're gonna be back. And
oh yeah,
you guys are gonna be back. And it's pretty awesome seeing, it's not awesome seeing the fact that everyone's shut down till May, but it's pretty awesome seeing the community come together, not only just, for theatrical purposes, but also, we're a couple of weeks away from the election, and, everyone's doing that, coming together. It shows the power of the Broadway community. But with that being said, Broadway's pretty awesome. The Imperial Theater is on a relatively cool part of Broadway. I happen to like that location of where the Imperial Theater is at. It's a little confusing for some first-time tourists because you're on, I think it's 44th and then or 46th, and then on the other side it's 45th, because like it's on both sides. So I made the mistake back when I was like a little sophomore in high school. I was like, oh, you gotta go to the box office, that's on the other side, other street. I'm like, oh, okay. But what does the Imperial Theater mean to you? Not necessarily just as a performance space,
Ooh,
but also it's next to some pretty cool shows. Like you guys are
yeah,
next door to Evan Hansen.
yeah,
You got Come From Away, you got Hamilton, you got all these cool theaters around you. You're surrounded by some cool companies. So like, what's the Imperial like for you?
yeah. So we're on 45th and 46th are the two that we're in between. Um, yeah, yeah. This is a story that every time we do talkbacks, my casts are like, "Hey, tell this story, tell this story." I'm like, "Oh, God, I don't know." But I'll tell it here. So maybe this is the last time I tell it because now it's on here, forever. Um, when I was in middle school, we is that true? Yes. When I was in, hold on, I want to get this story right. Was it middle school or was it high school? Middle school, I did that. No, it wasn't middle school. Excuse me, high school, which is even worse. Um, High school, I went to a private. I got a scholarship to go to a private high school for musical theater. It's called American Heritage. It's a great program. Uh, Camila Mendez on Riverdale is from there. Joshua Grosso, who has done amazing things, is from there.
I'm actually meeting with him next to come on the show. Fun fact. That's pretty awesome.
Hey! Yeah, we went to high school together. We were there at the same time.
Oh my God, that
Yeah,
is so awesome.
yeah. He was like a year under me, I think. A year or two? No, I think a year. Anyway, love that guy. Yeah, love you, man. Call me. But we were in high school. He was probably on this trip. We went and saw Billy Elliot, and at intermission, I had what I now know is a panic attack. I didn't know at the time, but I had a panic attack because I was like, these kids are so good, and they're so young, right? They're already younger than me. I'm in high school. I'm never gonna make it here. If this is how good the kids are, there's no possible way I'm gonna make it in this industry. There's no way. It can't happen, right? Um, and I was really hurt. I didn't know what to do. I was beside myself. And my friends kind of calmed me down a bit, and we saw some other shows with some adults, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you're a little older, maybe it'll take some time. But that was the big thing. The big takeaway was I just don't know what I'm gonna do. um for those of you who don't know, Billy Elliot was in the Imperial. So it was in that theater that I thought I'd never make it to Broadway. And it is in that theater that I made my Broadway debut. So it was just a really cool kind of full circle situation where like one of my lowest moments really on my journey at the time, right? I've had probably more pressing issues since then. But at the time, it was devastating, because I really thought, I was looking at, the Billy Elliots and even the kids that were just in the ballet class. I'm like, y'all are brilliant. Um, and I thought I wouldn't make it. And I just meant Broadway in general, I wouldn't make it here, you know. Sure enough, I made it literally within the building. So I mean, it's baffling. It still blows my mind. Um, and I think there's some cosmic work there, just to be like, yeah, doubt me again, right? doubt me again. So that means the world to me. It means a whole lot to me that that I'm in that theater to begin with, right? It's also where Dreamgirls was. It also was where, I mean, the playbills that are up on the wall, right? It's it's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming to know just how much history, Les Mis was in there for so long. It's a brilliant spot. So there's that. It's also it is not lost on me that we are right next door to Hamilton. As anybody knows, that's my dream show. That's the show I'm gunning for. Telsey, I'm looking at you. Let's talk. And I've been in for the show like 25 times. Like it's absurd. Any moment. But so that's not lost on me either. Another fun story. I just got all the fun stories today. I don't know what's happening. Um, was in between the pre-Broadway tour and the Broadway run. I was hurting for cash, so I had to get a job. Like we all do. So I got a job selling merch, and so I was with CGM, so Creative Goods Merchandise, who happened to run Hamilton and the Hamilton store. So I was actually on shift across the street at the Hamilton store when the marquees went up for Ain't Too Proud. So I got to watch them put up the marquee for the show I was in, and then some lady wanted to argue with me about a price on something. And I was like, I'm gonna be in that show over there, but I'll give you the discount. It was fine. But it was one of those moments where I was like, wow, like this is, it's surreal, but it also, goes to tell you never know who you're talking to, right? You never know who you're dealing with. So be kind to everybody, right? Is what I learned in that moment. Because it literally, like, the marquee was going up. She was arguing with me. Like, I had one tear coming down my eye, and it wasn't for her. But, there was like so much happening. But it really was just this idea of like, wow, like you never know. You never know what people are carrying. You never know what people's journey are gonna, take them on. Like, just be a good person is what I learned then. So I mean, that block is super cool, and it means a lot to me. One of our castmates, Rashidra Scott, left us to go do company, so she's right across the street now. So we jokingly wave. She never sees it, but we jokingly, wave across the street, and we're like, hey girl, come on back. But yeah, no, it's an amazing block. I think it's the perfect theater. I'm glad we waited until we had the Imperial, because I couldn't think of the show being somewhere else.
Well, we got just a couple minutes left, but that's pretty awesome hearing the story. But I don't know if this is something that our viewers will really care about, but I'm going to say it anyway. So you mentioned earlier the New England stuff.
Yeah.
What's the correlation there for you?
So my mom is from Worcester, Mass. And so I'll make this a quick story. Maybe we can get one more thing in. But at 5 years old, she sat me down and she was like, listen, I know you're rooting for both like Miami, Florida teams and like, New England teams, but we're rivals in almost every sport. So you got to pick. And now you can stick with Florida teams. We just won't talk on game days, and that's fine. And I was like, Mom, I don't know. And like at the time, I think the Celtics were doing well. Somebody was doing well. They usually are. Rest in peace this season. But usually we're doing well. I know, man. I know. But so I was like, yeah. So New England teams, and I've been a diehard ever since. Mostly you'll see me walking around with like my Boston Celtics. I've got a jean jacket that's got like the Celtic patch and it says Celtics on the back, like full on 100%. Look, I mean, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, I need to get some of those. I really want. Listen, Sphere, Jaylen Brown's jersey from this year, his social justice jersey with freedom.
The liberation one. Yeah.
The liberation one. Yeah. Who was it? Tatum that had freedom. Yeah, I really want that, but they're not selling them, and it's killing me. I got no idea. NBA, your move. I don't, who from the NBA is watching this. I don't know, but you listen. You never know, right? You never know who you're talking to, right?
If you ever want to come on my show again and talk about sports, you know where to find me.
I'm here. You listen. I'm here all day for it. We could listen. I got time. I know you got to talk to Josh, but like, call me back after. Like,
I'll take you up on that.
All right.
But before we wrap up, any parting thoughts? You gave some great advice. Usually I ask everyone at the end, a little bit of advice, but you gave some good advice before. But if you have any more thoughts you want to add on before we wrap up, lay them at us.
Yeah, I think it's not so much advice. I guess it is advice, and it's not surprisingly, this time it's not for the actors, right? I think it's for viewers. I think it's for patrons, fans and lovers of theater. We're hurting, and we're doing everything we can, and we're still creating, right? Because that's the only way we know how to survive. But we're hurting. Let's not pretend that that's not the case, right? We just found out that we're not gonna Broadway. Let me be very specific. Broadway will not be back for 14 months. They'll be out of work for 14 months. We will be out of work for 14 months minimum right now, right? That's crazy. Can you imagine, if accountants had to go out of work for 14 months, had to, didn't get laid off, no, their entire job just disappeared for over a year. They'd be rioting in the streets, right? But instead we're doing what we can to make it on different platforms and do what we can. Reach out if you know anybody, pay artists if you can. If you're a teacher, this is a perfect time to get guests into your classes. We need your help. And, in not just Broadway, right? All theater, regional theaters too, as they slowly come back, because they most likely will be able to come back earlier, mask up, test up, go see those early shows if you can, right? Any little bit is going to help, but really we need your help, right? We've been trying to make your lives better with our art for as long as we live, before and after. Right now we need you. Right now we need you probably more than we ever will and ever have. So just know that, so check in on your artist friends, do what you can. The Actors Fund is a great organization to donate to, or if you just know an actor, shoot them a Venmo, shoot them $5 to pay for a coffee or something. It really does go a long way. My Venmo is Christin Thompson. I'm just throwing it out. No, I'm playing. But seriously, I think that's my thing right now. That's the thing is, because I feel like we've kind of been forgotten. I know I'm rambling, but with the lack of relief right now from the government, which is a whole heap of a mess. But because it's such a mess, right, they can't even focus on the fact that an entire industry has disappeared, right? An industry that literally, what was it, a couple of days after 9/11 went back to work so that the city could heal, right? Like we look at like Come From Away, it talks about that journey. Like I'm sure there will be either a show or a movie at some point about the fact that Broadway and theater, just theater in general, has been there for the human race throughout all of time. And now's the time where we need the human race to have our back. So we love you. We miss you. We'll be back as soon as we can.
Hells yes, you guys are going to be back.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a matter of, we've been saying it for the past 7 months, matter of patience. But
yeah, just patience and safety, and that's what we want. We want everybody to be safe,
Exactly.
Like, so yeah, we're going to take our time and make sure it's right.
Well, I really appreciate your thoughts and everything you're saying, and it was really nice talking to you. Quite frankly, a lot of stuff that people take for granted. Hey, theater's a luxury, or what I mean. Like people are like, oh, we got to go to theater on holidays. People don't realize on holidays there's actors giving up their time to perform on that holiday. So that's how important and vital performers are. And my dog's in the back, but.
Yeah,
our animals are making cameos.
Right. It's just it's us plus our pets. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny. This will be the first year in I think 3 years that I'll be home for the holidays. And my mom's freaking out. She's super happy.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
And it's great. But it also, like, I hadn't been home in over a year. That's just the fact. And it's an occupational hazard, and we know that it's a part of it. But the same way we don't take for granted the fact that like firefighters risk their lives for us, right? Don't take for granted that like stage actors specifically give up a lot of their home life in order to make you happy and a better person, and or even make you sad, because sometimes you need that. whatever it may be, we got you, and we love doing that. And that's the thing. I think that's the thing that a lot of people, when we talk about all of these things, they're like, oh, that sounds like an angry actor. No, like, we love it. That's why we do it. We want that. So yeah, I think it's much more of a necessity than a luxury, which I'm hoping when we do come back, can be reflected in things like ticket prices, because accessibility is important. Listen, we could talk forever, so maybe we just need to do a part 2.
I'll second that on the ticket prices 110%.
Yo, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll definitely hit you up on that part 2, but I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day and talking to a random college theater podcaster that direct messaged you on Instagram.
No, this is fantastic. I mean, truthfully, these little things and, speaking in little classes has kept me going, right? It lets me sit back and remember and think on, the things I love. And in the meantime, hopefully inspire and, encourage the next group, somebody did it for me at some point. I'm just glad I get to do the same. So I appreciate you for even thinking about me.
I appreciate you for once again accepting and coming on, but you enjoy your day today. Enjoy everything. I know it's hard right now, but I'm sure all of us have. If you haven't already, everyone go out and vote. I'm in California. I'm in California. Today's the deadline to register. Do it.
Yeah. Here in Florida, early voting just started today. In-person early voting goes through October 31st in Miami and the 1st here in Broward County. So if you're here, vote. Anywhere else, look it up, make it happen.
Don't you want to wear these cool stickers? Like, it's just
right.
Cool. You know what I mean?
Get you a sticker.
Well, I appreciate you. Take care. Stay safe and healthy. I think you said earlier, you said mask up, test up, all that good stuff.
Yes, all of that. All mask up, test up, because the more you do it, the sooner we'll get back.
Exactly. Easy. Well, you have a great day, my friend. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah.